Good day, everyone. I would like to thank the Association of Local Social Welfare and Development Officers of the Philippines Incorporated for inviting me as one of your speakers during this annual convention. Pandemic-related stress, understanding potential impact on well-being, and effective coping strategies. Notice that I changed the word mental health from the original title given to me with the word well-being, because I think the pandemic did not only affect our mental health, but our well-being in general. And exactly, this is what I would like to focus on in my presentation. I will be talking about well-being, then share with you a framework that I believe works, at least for me, in coping with pandemic-related stress. Allow me to define well-being. Well-being is the experience of health, happiness, and prosperity. It refers to good mental health, high life satisfaction, a sense of meaning or purpose, and the ability to manage stress. Gustong-gusto kong isalin sa wikang Filipino ang salitang well-being dahil napakalalim para sa akin ang kahulugan nito. Ang well-being ay pwedeng kaginhawahan, ginhawa, kagalingan, maaliwalas, wala kang ibang iniisip, katahimikan or tahimik, komportable, sapat, o yung tinatawag natin na hayahay ang buhay. Now, psychology today identifies types of well-being. In fact, 5. There are 5 types of well-being, but I added one, which is the spiritual well-being. So when we say emotional well-being, it's the ability to practice stress management and relaxation techniques, becoming resilient, and being able to boost self-love, self-compassion, and being able to generate the emotions that lead to good feelings. While physical well-being, that's very self-explanatory. It's the ability to improve the functioning of your body through healthy living and, of course, good exercise habits. Social well-being, refers to the ability to communicate, your relationships, to develop and maintain meaningful relationships with other people, being able to maintain your support group or your network that will help you overcome loneliness, anxiety, or pain. Okay? And what about workplace well-being? It's the ability to pursue your interests, what else? Values, life purposes, life's meaning in order to gain happiness and enrichment professionally. So in terms of your work as social workers, for example, or social development workers, how healthy is your workplace well-being? And then we have societal well-being. It's the ability to actively participate in thriving community, culture, and environment, having your own advocacy and having your own group, and of course, spiritual well-being. When I say spiritual well-being, I'm not only referring to like being religious or prayerful. No, it's not like that. Spiritual well-being is being connected to something greater than yourself. Having your set of values, principles, morals, beliefs, and so forth and so on. So these are the types of well-being according to psychology today. Now, how do we maintain our well-being? Appreciative inquiry may be used as a tool in strengthening and sustaining our well-being. Okay, especially during this time of the pandemic, not only during this time of the pandemic, but for any crisis that we may encounter in the future, it's either a calamity or a disaster. I think AI, as we call it, or appreciative inquiry, is a good tool that we can make as part of our life. Now, allow me to ask this question. What what was the best thing that happened to you, to your life, or to your family, or even to your career during the COVID-19 pandemic? Okay? I'm sure some of you would say that the best things that happened to you during the pandemic, number one, would be spending time with your family. Spending time, quality time with family members whom, you have not met before or spent time with before. Maybe more time with yourself to pray and to take care of yourself. What else? Maybe there's the time for you to discover some passion, new passion, like planting. No, yung sabi nila, naging plantito, naging plantita. What else? Passion for baking, passion for cooking, and so forth and so on. And perhaps some of you, were even very thankful with the career. No, yung iba nawawalan ng trabaho, but in your case, you still have a job. You still have a work. No? What else? Siguro yung iba, nag-vlog. What else? Nagsulat ng libro. So these are the things, the best things perhaps that happened to us during the pandemic. So my point is, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, despite the difficulty, there were a lot of positive things that happened in our life. And I'm sure you agree with me. No? A lot of things, good things happened between you and your family members, with your career, with your finances perhaps, no? Okay. So, ibig sabihin, sa gitna ng pandemyang ito, maraming mga bagay pa din, magagandang bagay na nangyari sa ating mga buhay-buhay. Now, this brings us to our understanding of appreciation. How do we appreciate? And what does it mean to appreciate? So when we appreciate something or someone, isn't it we put value into it? We put a price into it, no? Mahal yan, no? Mahal. We esteem or we honor that person. So kunyari, pag sinabi mo, ay, ang ganda mo, no? Or bagay sa'yo yung suot mo, they appreciate you. And therefore, there's a value into it. But we Filipinos are not used to accepting or receiving appreciation, right? No? At mahirap kasi lagi nating iniisip yung pangit, lagi nating nakikita yung pangit. But to appreciate means, it says, to wear that appreciative eye. It's really difficult, very difficult, to look at what's the best thing that happened to us during the pandemic. But when you wear that appreciative eye, you will discover that there were a lot, countless, of positive things that happened during this pandemic. Okay, so now we move on. And how do we inquire? How do we ask questions? No? Normally, when we ask questions, we ask negative questions, right? But when we ask positive questions, we get positive answers. Am I correct? So to inquire means to discover, to search, to explore, or to study. As I earlier mentioned, mahirap hanapin ang mabuti, lalo na sa pandemyang ito. But when we try our best, when we inquire, when we search, ano nga bang magandang nangyari during this time of the pandemic? And you will discover na, ang dami naman pala. Okay? And therefore, this brings us now to the question, what then is appreciative inquiry? How do we define appreciative inquiry? Okay? AI, is the search for what is life-giving and possible within people and the world around us. It is the search for what is meaningful. Sabi nga, what is life-giving, what is possible during this time of the pandemic or even despite any crisis. No? It is the ability to what? To deliberately or to intentionally ask, that which we want to accelerate, that which we want to grow. Ano ba yung gusto nating mag-grow pa? Ano pa yung gusto nating ma-develop? With the realization that what we appreciate appreciates. I'd like to repeat that what we appreciate appreciates. Okay. In other words, AI also builds on learning from it what is working well rather than focusing on the problem. So again, AI is building on what works well. Ano ba yung life-giving, no? Ano ba yung inspiring? During this time of the pandemic, tignan natin, hindi yung problema daw. Do not focus on the problem, but focus on what worked well. Imagine when you were in quarantine, what worked well was your quality time with your family members. Araw-araw, 24/7, magkakasama kayo. These are the things that worked well. So dwell on that or focus on that. Okay? So that is what we mean by appreciative inquiry. Because according to David Cooper Ryder, he was the one who developed AI or appreciative inquiry. He said that in every piece of art, there is beauty. I repeat, and I hope you believe that, no? In every piece of art, there is beauty. So despite this COVID-19 pandemic, ang daming magagandang nangyari. Beautiful things happen. Okay. Now, AI, as we said, is the search for what is life-giving. And what about appreciative resilience? Okay. Now, let me begin with this. When we define resilience, now the first thing that comes into my mind is the how do you call this? The image of a bamboo, no? Isn't it that during a storm or during a typhoon, no, a bamboo, no, the bamboo tree, no, siya ay natutumba, pero hindi siya nababali. It's never broken, right? Pero pag umaraw na ulit, pag nawala na yung bagyo, unti-unti tumatayo siya ulit. It goes back, no, to its original position. In fact, according to literature, sometimes even straighter than it was before. So that is resilience, no? It's the ability to bounce back. It's the ability to go back to its original position. So according to Jeannie Cockle, no, and Joan MacArthur Blair in their book, no, resilience is the ability to sustain or persevere in the most complex situations and life experiences. That is how they define resilience. Okay. And what then is AR, or appreciative resilience? This was developed by Joan MacArthur Blair and Jeannie Cockle, and it is written, well explained in their book, Building Resilience with Appreciative Inquiry, a leadership journey through hope, despair, and forgiveness. They say that AR, or appreciative resilience, assists people in developing their own understanding and personal call to resilience by using AI principles and practices. So remember the AI principles, wearing that appreciative eye, okay, that in every piece of art there is beauty. Those are some of the AI principles and practices. Now, AR, or appreciative resilience, is based on these principles. So AR, or appreciative resilience, is that which sustains us as hope blooms, as despair visits, and as forgiveness opens our hearts. Now, this is the appreciative resilience model by Joan MacArthur Blair and Jeannie Cockle in 2018. So as you see, not the outer circle, you have their AI leadership, AI principles, AI processes, and so forth. But at the inner circle, no, are the three elements of appreciative resilience. And these are despair, forgiveness, and hope. Okay? So these are the very important elements of appreciative resilience. Now, let's go over them one by one. The first element is despair. What is despair? And I'm sure during this pandemic, all of us have gone through despair. It is defined by MacArthur, Blair, and Cockle as the dark night of the soul. When you cannot see a clear path forward, outcomes cannot be seen, and doubts arise. This is the experience when, hala, wala ka nang makitang liwanag, no? There's no light at the end of the tunnel. Everything is so uncertain, just like this pandemic. That's despair. Now, according to Soren Kierkegaard, despair is universal, meaning no one is exempted from experiencing it. Lahat tayo, I believe, even the strongest people on earth experience despair during this pandemic. And I'm sure na all of you who are listening to me right now, we're not spared from experiencing despair because it's universal. No one is exempted from it. But you know, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Korean drama. It's okay to not be okay. Because it's universal. Nobody's exempted. Okay lang yan. It's okay to not be okay. Everything is going to be okay. So don't worry if you're feeling, sad, may anxiety ka, bigla na lang umiiyak ka, hindi mo alam, bigla na lang ayaw mo nang pumasok, okay lang yan. Because it's a natural feeling, during this pandemic. Sabi nga ng ibang literature na nabasa ko, ang hindi daw normal ngayon ay yung magsasabi na, ay hindi, wala akong problema, hindi ako nakakaramdam ng lungkot. Hindi raw yun ang normal. Ang normal daw ngayon ay hindi ako okay. But don't worry, everything is going to be okay. No? So okay lang yan na nakakaramdam ka ng despair, ng sadness, melancholy. Okay? Pero, kapatid, sabi ko nga, paalala lang. Daanan mo lang yan, huwag mong tambayan. What does it mean? No? It's okay to not be okay, but do not dwell on it too long. Huwag masyadong matagal, kapatid. Meron dapat deadline. Otherwise, you will need professional help. But you need to help yourself. Okay? So paalala, this is a very important reminder. Daanan mo lang, huwag mong tambayan. So how do we do that? Kaya nga tayo merong tinatawag na coping strategies. Now, how do we cope? When we say coping skills, this will help you tolerate, minimize, and deal with stressful situations in life. Managing your stress well can help you feel better physically and psychologically, emotionally, and it can impact your ability to perform your best. Now, at this point, I would like you to pause for a few seconds and think very quickly and spontaneously now of this question. What is or what are worrying you right now? Can you control them? Or you cannot control them? It's either or. Are there things worrying you right now? Can you control them or you cannot control them? Okay. Now, we need to distinguish in coping, these coping strategies or in coping with your anxiety, with your sadness or whatever. We need to identify whether we are using problem-based or emotion-based coping. You ask yourselves the question, do I need to change my situation or do I need to find a way to better cope with the situation? Now, what is emotion-based coping? Emotion-based coping is when you need to take care of your feelings, when you either don't want to change your situation or when circumstances are out of your control. So what are examples of emotion-based coping? Doing some exercises, taking a relaxing shower, giving yourself a pep talk, or perhaps meditating. So these are examples of emotion-based coping. So in emotion-based coping, accept what you cannot change. May mga bagay-bagay na hindi natin mabago katulad ng COVID-19 pandemic. So accept what you cannot change and stay active and productive. The next one is problem-based coping. Problem-based coping is helpful when you need to change your situation, perhaps by removing a stressful thing, it's either something or someone in your life. What are examples of problem-based coping? Managing your time. Ang trabaho dumadami, hindi nababawasan, nadadagdagan. So manage your time. If you cannot help it anymore, ask for support. Huwag kang mahiya. Set some boundaries, 12:00 ng hating gabi, patayin mo na yung telepono mo. Sa dami ng ginagawa, make a to-do list. See? So these are examples of problem-based coping. So in problem-focused coping, change what you can. Tackle the things you can alter, make that plan, and then make a backup plan for your original plan. yung mga kaya mo lang. Di ba sabi natin, choose your battles. Yung kaya mong gawan lang ng paraan. Change what you can. For the things that you cannot change, accept them as they are. Now, let me go back to my question earlier. What is or what are worrying you right now? How do you cope? Is it emotion-based or problem-based coping? Okay. Of course, there are unhealthy coping skills, and I do not recommend you to do this. Like, for example, drinking alcohol, using drugs, gambling, overeating, stress eating, oversleeping, venting to others. Sometimes you're biking at the wrong tree, overspending, yan, lahat na ng 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, lahat yan. Malapit na naman ng 11, 11 hanggang sa 12, 12, yan, overspending. And of course, avoidance of the issue. Ayaw mo nang makipag-usap sa tao, nagkukulong ka na lang, ayaw mong kumain. Okay, so these are examples of unhealthy coping skills. And so therefore, what is recommended when we are into this state of, despair? We practice mindfulness. What is mindfulness? It is a moment-to-moment awareness of one's experience without judgment, and it is a state and not a trait. Okay? At the same time, it is the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So, ibig sabihin, ang mindfulness ay focus on the moment. Galit ako, malungkot ako, pero you manage your emotions. How? Stop. Mindfulness is stop. What does it mean? S. Stop, pause, and focus. So kapag natataranta ka na, hindi mo na alam kung anong gagawin mo, my dear, sit down, stop, pause, and focus. That is mindfulness. Then T, take a deep breath, in and out. Inhale, exhale. And notice how it feels to breathe. It feels relaxing, right? Inhale, exhale. Okay? Then, observe and acknowledge. Name it, as they say, and tame it. At this point, I feel angry. Galit na galit ako. Inhale, exhale. Galit yung nararamdaman ko. But once you have acknowledged your feeling, nagalit ka, again, focus. And then, proceed with calmness. That is what we mean by mindfulness. So that's another coping skill. Now, I would like to share this with you. At the beginning of the pandemic, I had all the time to relax kasi hindi pa nag-work from home. Nung nag-resume ang work from home, ayan na, from 8 o'clock, minsan 12 midnight, 1 a.m., I was on screen. Work from home parang, di ba sabi natin, hindi na natin alam yung boundary ng trabaho sa bahay and so forth and so on. So I had no time anymore to enjoy my coffee. And I love coffee. Coffee is life. So one time, I attended this webinar by Dr. Hani Karandang, and she said, mindfulness is enjoying the moment. And then she said, your coffee is there for you. Are you there for your coffee? Parang bigla akong, oo nga, I've not enjoyed my coffee anymore. Kasi habang nagmi-meeting ako, nagtitimpla ako ng kape, o kumakain ako, I don't enjoy the moment anymore. Wala nang sacred time. So I would like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow social workers, development workers, let's set aside time to practice mindfulness. Your coffee is there for you. Are you there for your coffee? Okay. Now we move on to the second element of appreciative resilience, and that is forgiveness. Now, after coping skills, being able to manage your despair, the next level is forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is defined as the what? It's the animating energy that makes forward movement possible. We often hear people, mag-move on ka na. Pero yung iba naman, move on ng move on, akala nila naka-forgive na sila, hindi pa pala. And therefore, paulit-ulit lang, no? Nagiging vicious cycle yung mga nangyayari sa buhay nila. Paikot-ikot yung galit, sama ng loob, and so forth and so on, because they have not forgiven themselves yet, and they have not forgiven others yet. So, during this time of the pandemic, let's try to think, ano ba yung mga kailangan nating patawarin? It can be a situation, it can be yourself, or it can be other people, so that you can move forward. And take note, no, I would like to give emphasis to this. Forgiveness is a choice. It's a choice. It's your decision whether to let go or not let go. Okay? So, forgiveness is a choice to give up resentment, anger, and fear, and step towards accepting things as they are. Again, there are things that are beyond our control, and therefore, we should accept these things as they are. See? So, it's a choice to forgive. And I hope that after listening to this lecture, you will decide, you will choose to forgive. It can be forgiving yourself, or forgiving other people, or forgiving some situations that, happened in your life that are beyond your control. Why? Why am I giving emphasis to this? Because forgiveness gives you health benefits. No? So you're able to, manage your stress during this pandemic if you forgive and you overcome your despair, because it gives you health benefits. Number one, it lowers the risk of heart attack. It improves cholesterol level. It increases your sleep naturally. It reduces pain. Wala kang dinidibdib, walang mabigat sa kalooban mo. It reduces high blood pressure. It reduces level of anxiety, depression, and stress. And I'm telling you, this is based on research. Okay? So, forgiveness is also an active process, kaya nga it's a choice, no? It's a conscious decision to let go of negative feelings, whether the person deserves it or not. I would like to give emphasis to that, no? Whether the person deserves it or not. Minsan kasi, well, human as we are, sinasabi natin, patatawarin ko yan kung patatawarin din niya ako. Paano kung hindi pa siya ready? Diba? At least ikaw sa kalooban mo, napatawad mo na siya. Ngayon kung hindi ka pa niya mapatawad, siya nang may dala nun, hindi ikaw. So hindi ikaw yung makaroon ng sakit sa likod, sakit sa puso, masakit ang balakang, hindi ikaw yun. Okay. And again, according to research, people who are more forgiving tend to be more satisfied with their lives and to have less depression, anxiety, stress, anger, and hostility. Imagine, no? People who are more forgiving are less prone to depression. They're happier. They're more satisfied with their lives. Kaya nga, di ba, narinig ko to, maraming beses sinasabi nila, kung sino daw yung unang nagpapatawad, siya daw yung mas nagmamahal. Di ba? Okay. Now, people who hang on to grudges are more likely to experience severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as other health conditions. Do you agree with that? No? I'm sure na-obserbahan niyo to. Minsan, kaya taong yan, parang dilim-dilim ng aura, parang galit sa mundo. Aha, baka may mga bagay-bagay na kailangan niyang i-let go. Okay. And so therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's make forgiveness as part of our life. No? Let's continue what? Reflecting and remembering. Sabi na forgive and forget. Actually, we do not forget the experience, but we forget the pain. We continue to empathize. No? What is empathy? No? Putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. I define empathy as seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ear of another, and feeling with the heart of another. And forgive deeply. Hindi yung, sige na nga, pinapatawad na kita. No. It should be sincere. Let go of expectations. Huwag kang mag-expect na ikaw ay patatawarin din agad-agad. Kasi it takes time. It takes readiness to forgive. And first and foremost, that you need to remember, decide to forgive. We forget the mistake, but we remember the lesson. from these mistakes. I firmly believe that the most important reason that we need to forgive is because it is the most perfect, precious gift that you give to yourself. It does not change the past, but it will definitely change the future. So if you love yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, forgive. Definitely, it will not change the past. Past is past. Yun na yun eh. But I'm sure it will change the future. It will make you happier. It will make you younger. No? It will make you healthier if you forgive. You owe that to yourselves. No? Ayun. So yung tinatawag nating self-love. Okay. Now we move on to the third element of appreciative resilience, which is hope. You have already managed your despair, now with the coping skills that were taught to you. You have already forgiven. You have decided to forgive yourself, forgive others, and forgive situations that are beyond your control. Now it's time to hope. Hope is believing that the future will open endless possibilities. Hope looks at what is and what might be. Now that I have managed my stress, my anxiety, now that I was able to forgive, wow, there is endless possibilities. There are things that we can hope for, things that might happen in the future. So hope is a snapshot. It's like a screenshot, no, of a person's current goal-directed thinking, highlighting the motivated pursuit of goals and the expectations that those goals can be achieved. And I would like you, this is your assignment after this presentation. I wish we had longer time, no? You practice what we call appreciative storytelling. What is appreciative storytelling? Appreciative storytelling is telling a story that is focused on something that gives life, something that is inspiring. You can begin now with answering the question, what appreciative stories about this pandemic do I want to tell my children and grandchildren 20 years from now? Maybe after this lecture, you can take a notebook, no? Or a pen and a paper, and then answer this question. Ano kaya maikukwento ko sa mga apo ko 20 years from now? Appreciative, ha? Or how do I envision my well-being and resilience in the next 5 years? After learning all those coping skills, go back to this question. No? In other words, make a plan. No, gumawa ka ng plano mo. Anong gagawin ko? How will I cope? No, emotion-based ba? Problem-based ba ang coping ko? Para masustain ko yung well-being ko, para ma-manage ko yung anxiety ko. What activities that will give me more inspiration or that will inspire me more? Activities that are more life-giving. Okay? Now, before I end, may I invite you to recite what is on the screen, no, with me. This is what we call the self-compassion break. No? May I invite you to put your right hand, no, on your chest, no? Or maybe you can hug yourself, no? Or maybe you can do the butterfly, no, the butterfly hug, no? And then follow me. Self-compassion break. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I accept this moment exactly as it is. May I accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. May I give myself all the compassion I need. Okay? So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Emily D. Dicolen from the National Teacher Training Center for the Health Professions of the University of the Philippines, Manila. And I hope that you learned something from my lecture today.